What will happen when Finn faces the final challenge? Can he save his family? Will Finn's wish come true, or will the third trial be too much to bear? Let's find out. Silver Lake's Secret Part 2. However, the silver, Swan's words echoed in his mind. The final trial would be the hardest of all. As the Swan glided over the calm waters of the Silver Lake, Finn followed closely, wondering what this final test would be. The moonlight shimmered on the water, casting soft ripples that danced in the night. Finn's thoughts shifted to his family, and a longing tugged at his heart. He hoped that passing these trials would bring them the peace they deserved. But first, he had to face the third trial. Soon the Swan guided him to a third island, smaller and simpler than the ones before. There were no shining treasures or bountiful gardens this time. Instead, a large, ancient tree stood in the center of the island, its branches twisting high into the sky. The tree's bark was dark and weathered, and its branches seemed to reach out toward the stars. The Swan turned to Finn, its voice soft but serious. "This is your final trial, Finn. It may seem simple, but it will test your heart in a way that no other challenge has." Finn nodded, feeling a mixture of curiosity and concern. What could this trial be? He didn't see any obvious challenge like the riches or the garden of fruit. All he could see was the great tree, its branches stretching out as if guarding some secret. The Swan pointed its beak toward the highest branch of the tree. Finn squinted and saw something small moving. His heart skipped a beat as he realized what it was. A bird's nest. From the nest, a tiny baby bird teetered on the edge, flapping its wings in a desperate attempt to fly. The bird was still too young to fly, and at any moment it would fall from the nest. Before Finn could fully grasp the situation, the baby bird lost its balance and began tumbling down from the high branch, falling fast toward the ground. Without thinking, Finn sprang into action. His legs moved instinctively as he ran toward the tree, his eyes locked on the falling bird. He had to save it. The tree was tall, much taller than any tree he had climbed before. But Finn didn't hesitate. His heart pounded in his chest as he grabbed hold of the rough bark and began pulling himself up. The branches were thick and gnarled, making it difficult to find footholds. But Finn's determination overpowered his fear. He climbed higher and higher, his eyes darting between the bird and the branches above him. The baby bird was still falling, tumbling through the air with its tiny wings flapping in vain. Finn's mind raced. He didn't have much time. His arms ached from the effort of climbing, but he didn't stop. With a final burst of energy, he reached out and caught the baby bird just before it hit the ground. Finn's heart raced as he cradled the fragile creature in his hands. It was tiny, its feathers soft and downy. The bird trembled in his palm, but it was safe. He let out a breath he didn't realize he had been holding, relief flooding through him. He had done it. He had saved the baby bird. But the trial wasn't over yet. Finn looked up at the nest, still perched high in the tree. The bird belonged up there, safe with its mother. He couldn't just leave it on the ground. It needed to be returned to its nest. Though his arms were already tired, Finn knew he had to climb back up. Gritting his teeth, he secured the baby bird in one hand and began climbing once again. The higher he went, the more difficult the climb became. The branches grew thinner and the bark became rougher against his skin, but he pressed on, refusing to give up. As he neared the nest, Finn carefully shifted the baby bird in his hand, making sure not to harm it. The mother bird chirped anxiously from a nearby branch, watching Finn's every move. With one final effort, Finn placed the baby bird back in the nest, safe and sound. The mother bird fluttered over, her chirps softening as she nestled beside her baby, who chirped weakly in response. Finn smiled, feeling a deep sense of peace wash over him. He had done what was right, not because he was told to, but because he knew in his heart that every life, no matter how small, was worth saving. Exhausted but satisfied, Finn climbed back down the tree and returned to the ground. The silver swan was waiting for him, its eyes filled with approval. "You have passed the final trial, Finn," the swan said, its voice gentle but filled with pride. "In saving the baby bird, you showed true compassion. You acted without hesitation, not for reward or recognition, but because it was the right thing to do. Your heart is pure, and now the lake will grant your wish." Finn felt a wave of emotion rush over him. He had faced temptations and trials that had tested his strength, his kindness, and his courage. Now he stood on the other side, having proven that his heart was indeed pure. With the final trial behind him, Finn felt a deep sense of accomplishment and weariness. The silver swan, who had guided him through each challenge, now floated gracefully beside him as they made their way back to the shore of the Silver Lake. The moon hung high in the sky, its light shimmering off the calm surface of the water, creating a serene and magical atmosphere. As they approached the edge of the lake, Finn's heart raced with anticipation. He had passed the trials by staying true to his values of kindness and selflessness. Now, the moment he had been waiting for was finally here. The swan had said that the lake would grant his wish, but what would that look like? The boat gently touched the shore, and Finn stepped out, his legs feeling a bit shaky from the trials he had endured. He looked at the silver swan, who had been a constant source of guidance and encouragement throughout his journey. "It's time," the swan said softly. "You have shown that your heart is pure. Now you must make your wish." Finn took a deep breath, trying to calm his nerves. He thought of his family, their struggles, their sacrifices, and their hopes. He thought of his village, where people had suffered from hunger and illness for far too long. His heart ached with the desire to help them all, and he knew that this was his chance to make a real difference. The swan's gaze was calm and reassuring. "Remember, your wish can change everything, but it must come from your heart." Finn nodded and closed his eyes, focusing on the wish he wanted to make. He thought of his father, who had been bedridden for months, and his mother, who worked tirelessly to provide for them. He remembered the children in the village who went to bed hungry, and the elderly who were often sick and alone. His wish was clear and strong in his heart. "I wish," Finn said aloud, "for my family and my village to live in peace, never suffering from hunger or sickness again." The moment he finished speaking, the surface of the Silver Lake began to change. The calm, reflective water started to swirl and bubble, as if reacting to Finn's wish. The lake glowed with a bright silver light that grew more intense with each passing second. Finn's eyes widened in awe as the light spread across the lake, creating a breathtaking display of shimmering colors. The swan floated gracefully over the water, its feathers reflecting the light. "Your wish is powerful, Finn. The lake's magic is now at work." As Finn watched, the light from the lake began to extend beyond its boundaries, spreading out across the land. It flowed over the trees, the fields, and the village, enveloping everything in its warm, radiant glow. The transformation was almost otherworldly, as if the entire world was being touched by the magic of the lake. Finn could see the effects of the wish taking shape. The fields around his village, which had once been barren and dry, began to bloom with lush green crops. The once crumbling houses were now standing tall and strong, their roofs repaired and walls freshly painted. The village looked vibrant and alive, filled with the promise of a better future. As the light continued to spread, Finn felt a rush of hope and joy. He saw people in the village emerging from their homes, their faces lighting up with astonishment and happiness. They gathered in the streets, looking around in wonder as the magical transformation unfolded before their eyes. The lake's light reached the sick and elderly, and Finn could see the changes taking place. The frail and ailing villagers were standing up, their faces brightening as they felt the strength returning to their bodies. The air seemed to be filled with a sense of health and vitality that hadn't been there before. Finn's eyes were drawn to his own home, where his mother and father stood at the doorstep. His mother looked up, her eyes filled with tears of joy as she saw the changes happening around her. His father, who had been bedridden, was now standing upright, looking healthier and stronger than he had in months. The sight brought tears to Finn's eyes, and he felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The swan floated beside him, watching the scene with a serene expression. "Your wish has been granted, Finn. The lake's magic has brought peace and prosperity to your family and your village." Finn turned to the swan, his heart full of gratitude. "Thank you. I couldn't have done this without your guidance." The swan nodded gently. "You did well, Finn. You showed that true strength comes from a pure heart and the willingness to put others before yourself. Your journey has made a difference, and now your village will thrive." As the light from the lake slowly dimmed, Finn looked around at the transformed village. The people were celebrating, embracing one another, and sharing their joy. The once troubled village was now a place of peace and happiness, and Finn could see the fruits of his wish all around him. The swan began to fade, its form becoming more ethereal as it prepared to leave. "Remember, Finn, that the true magic lies in the kindness and love you have shown. Carry that with you always, and it will guide you throughout your life." Finn nodded, feeling a deep sense of contentment. He knew that while the lake's magic had played a role in making his wish come true, it was his actions and the purity of his heart that had truly made the difference. With a final gentle wave of its wings, the swan disappeared into the night, leaving Finn standing on the shore of the Silver Lake, surrounded by the beauty and peace that his wish had brought. Finn took a deep breath, savoring the moment, and then turned to rejoin the celebration in his village. He knew that his journey had not only changed his life, but it also brought hope and happiness to everyone he loved. With the granting of his wish, Finn stood at the edge of the Silver Lake, watching the magic of the lake fade into the night. The once troubled village had transformed into a place of joy and prosperity. As the villagers celebrated, Finn felt a deep sense of peace and accomplishment. He had completed the trials and fulfilled his wish, bringing hope and a brighter future to those he loved. Finn walked back into the village, his heart filled with happiness. The streets, now vibrant and bustling, were filled with laughter and excitement. Children played freely, their giggles echoing through the air. Families gathered in their homes, enjoying meals together, and the once sick and elderly people were now strong and healthy. It was a scene of unity and joy that Finn had only dreamed of. His mother and father were among the first to greet him. His mother embraced him with tears of joy, and his father, now fully recovered, looked at Finn with pride and gratitude. "You've done something amazing," his mother said, her voice trembling with emotion. "You brought us all a new chance at happiness." Finn smiled, his heart swelling with pride. "It was the lake's magic, but it was your strength and the support of our village that made it possible." As Finn walked through the village, he noticed the positive changes everywhere. The fields were green and bountiful, and the people were full of energy and hope. The village had become a place where dreams could come true, all because of Finn's bravery and selflessness. The villagers gathered around Finn, celebrating his success and sharing their gratitude. They spoke of the trials he had faced and the lessons he had taught them. Finn realized that his journey had not only changed his own life, but had also inspired those around him. The spirit of kindness and generosity that he had shown was now a part of the village's heart. As the celebrations continued, Finn took a moment to reflect on his journey. He thought about the trials, the lessons he had learned, and the people he had met along the way. Each challenge had tested him in different ways, but they had all led him to this moment, The trials had shown him that true strength comes from within and that helping others is the greatest reward. The sun began to rise, casting a golden light over the village. Finn stood by the silver lake, looking out over the land he had helped to transform. The lake, now calm and serene, seemed to hold the promise of a bright future. Finn knew that while his journey had ended, his new beginning was just beginning. With a final glance at the shimmering waters, Finn turned to join the festivities in his village. He was ready to embrace this new chapter of his life, filled with hope, joy, and the knowledge that he had made a lasting difference. The story of Finn and the Silver Lake would be remembered for generations, a tale of bravery, selflessness, and the power of a pure heart. And so, in the heart of the transformed village, Finn's legacy lived on, a beacon of light and inspiration for all who heard his story. The story ends here. If you're interested in hearing about a mirror that changed a girl's life, click the video here or follow the link in the description.